Hey guys, I'm Chris.
And I'm Mike.
Welcome back to this week's No Limits, the Thriller Podcast. How you doing today, Mike?
Great, not only because I love this book, but I got my wingman back.
I'm back.
He's here.
He's back from the dead, yes. Sorry I left you in your time of need last week. Two interviews. I'm disappointed to miss two big interviews, but, things happened.
Yeah, I fell for you because not only everything you had going on, but I knew you'd want to talk to Brad and Kyle, like two big ones we look forward to every year. And yeah, I'm sorry you couldn't be there with me, but you'll definitely be back next year when we talk to them again.
Yes. I'm excited to listen to your Brad interview as well as your Kyle interview, which both recently dropped, right?
Sure. Yeah, they're both out now. So spoilers. That's why I'm glad you waited on the Edge of Honor interview, because I loved it. But we do talk about a number of the characters and the plot points. So I didn't want to release that until publication day. People who had an early advance copy could listen right away. But now, a few weeks later, like yourself and others coming around to finish the book, I really hope you can get back to that interview if you haven't listened yet, now that you finished Edge of Honor, because you wouldn't be listening to this. We are going to spoil Edge of Honor here today, go deep into the nitty gritty and break it down. And Chris, I gave some hot takes in that interview. You probably saw them on some things I've been posting. This is the most enjoyable Brad Thor book, in my opinion.
I know you. I saw a little bit of your snippets on our social media.
I gotta know though. Do you agree with any part of that?
I was trying to avoid as much, kind of keep my game face on. I loved it too, Mike.
Oh, okay.
Dude, I think that this
I was
series,
nervous. You had me sweating, bro.
This series needed, I don't want to call it a refresh, but just like something
a little shot in the
new,
arm.
something different.
Yeah.
This harkens back to like how different, Deadfall and Rising Tiger were, but like brings us back into the element. And Scott in DC, we were in the thick of it, and also just very interesting choice to have him leave the Carlton Group, have him be on the outside. We know, like, immediately he's like, all right, who can I get? And none of his team is there, and so who do we have to call on? But two reliable stalwarts. Love hanging out with McGee and Haney.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
Multiple action scenes, crazy. The plot in this is absolutely insane.
Yes.
And I think it could have gone like one of two ways, by like trying to mix this faction of like, bringing in our current political environment, giving in, the taco of it all, if you want to say that. And I don't know, it's just interesting. But I felt like he played the game well enough that literally both sides could, very much how like Kyle would do it, where like you could write somebody, and the person, if you hate Republicans, the person's a Democrat, or he's a Republican. If you hate Democrats, the person's a Democrat, right? And then having this whole deep state thing with, right as these Epstein file like situation is going on.
Oh my God.
It couldn't have dropped at a perfect time. And I love the backdrop of America, 4th of July.
Yes.
Singing, ending with the final, jump into the final scene, ending with that final scene, the cover of this book, and just being in our nation's capital, and, being able to explore, we don't go like too far into it, but like, we go to Bishopsgate, which is right next to Mount Vernon. Like, it's all tied together. Loved this book.
God, what a relief. I wasn't sure. You were like stone cold, not giving me a read. You weren't like jiving with my hot takes. I was kind of like egging you on in text just to kind of tease out what you thought. You held fast. You held the line. I was getting nervous. I can't agree with you more. This book is just a refresh. I mean, I categorize it as these ones, and Brad didn't like my opinion on this too much, but it's like when the Apostle was doing something different by keeping us in Afghanistan on the ground with Scott and building an awesome team. Or Deadfall, like you said, we're in Ukraine. There's like one mission, one storyline. Everything's building around that. This book is the DC book. It's like, it's And I'm a sucker for that. Absolute sucker for everything DC, especially someone like Brad who knows his stuff, knows it inside and out, isn't just going to go to the Jefferson Memorial, the Washington Monument, the Capitol building. Like, he goes to parts of DC you wouldn't know unless you're a local, and gets them all right and explains them well. So the DC stuff is hitting. You mentioned the callbacks. Haney and McGee are only the tip of the iceberg. We've got Rogers.
Right.
That's a deep cut.
Backlash. Yeah.
The czar from Backlash, the hostage czar, the one who basically saved Scott, is able to pull strings in Washington and read the landscape so perfectly to get him out of Siberia. He comes in. He owes a favor. All of Solvy's connections going back 4 or 5 books from the moment we meet her, it's like her friend Beng who brings the lutefisk. And it's like all these little, I just love all these little details, because when her friend who is on the protection detail from the prime minister brings her a package and it's all weapons, it says Solvay opens up something little special that she asked her to slip in there. And it was the lutefisk. And it was like perfect. That's revealed at the end. I just feel like this is an incredible book. Oh, and not to mention, you said the America stuff. This book, I described it with Brad. I was like, it's like eating apple pie, having a hot dog and a beer on the 4th of July. And can you imagine if the paperback cover, I don't expect this, if it's the picture that Solvay took of him raising the flag at Bishopsgate?
That was cool. That was a little treat, yeah.
I'm just picturing a silhouette of Scott, maybe even giving a salute, the flag going up the pole, the dock in the background, maybe even you see a bit of Bishopsgate, like the facade of the church. I just enjoyed this book so much. So just to clarify, I don't think I would say this is the best Scot Harvath book. I wouldn't say it's like the most important one in the series. It's like this groundbreaking one. But I'm saying most enjoyable in the sense that it's a pretty light read compared to some of Brad's other works. You go back to Lions, right? It's like a tome. It's huge. And you have to do the legwork. You mentally have to be so totally switched on to track all those storylines. And we're globe hopping and globe trotting. And here we don't need to do the globe trotting because the story is so tight and everyone is tied back intimately to what's going on in DC. We don't need random globe hopping. I just think everything is done so well. You could put your feet up, kick back, relax, and enjoy this book, because even his other best one, Backlash, it's like too heavy at times, where it's like, it's a better book, I would say, in terms of the writing of a novel and the thrill of it all. But it's so heavy to read because you're just emotionally invested in what Scott's going through and the way he's dying constantly the entire time. And he's hanging on a thread and you don't know what happens to him. It's like a different style of book. So I think that one and Lions to me are still maybe better overall novels. But this one is so tight and so crisp and so badass America that it just makes it even more enjoyable just to read. It's a perfect beach read, but it's also a very complex book.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, it's just, there's no fluff. Like I was really trying to come up with, what, if anything, didn't make sense. What would you cut out? What could you cut out? What did Brad throw in extra? And I was struggling to come up with some things. I think, maybe you could nitpick a little bit, but to me, what this does is following up on the storyline of Edge of Honor, or of Shadow of Doubt,
Yep.
which me and you weren't super high on, where that one fell flat. This one kind of raises that up by bringing in, ultimately the one of the grand in the cabal is, the blackmailer from the CIA, basically.
Exactly.
The last book,
Yep.
wrapping that up. Yeah, and I just think, like I said at the beginning, it just takes us into this new territory of Scott. I'm super intrigued to see where we go, in the future. It gives you enough to all right, satisfy you in the moment. I'm still hooked to this series, I still want to see what's going on. Is he going to get back into the Carlton group? Obviously, there's still other people out there that, the Russians, obviously, we're going back to this thing again. Yeah, I don't know. It's propulsive.
The pacing, right.
You asked me at the beginning, was it too much to rush through it? Honestly, I started it. I didn't get to start it until like Sunday, but I crushed through it, dude. It you know I'm driving to a book when it's hard for me to like do my work at the computer and like be listening, but I was so enjoying it so much that I was just like, don't tell my boss this, but I turned it on and then I like kind of just I would get lost. And then I'd come back in, turn it off, be like, all right, I'm gonna enjoy it. I have an hour ride home. I have an hour left. Let me enjoy that like on the ride home. And Armin Schultz can't sing my praises like this. He does a great job.
Oh my! And when he's doing the podcaster's voice, it's like exactly that, like smarmy, better than thou,
Alex Jones
thou.
Mixed with Tucker Carlson.
It's Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, a little bit of Rogan. Like it's just all these things, like, but without naming any of them, right? Like you said, you're not pissing off the left, you're not pissing off the right. He's not a conservative, not a liberal. It's just you're using the modern day political landscape, commenting on it without being needlessly inflammatory. You know, you're creating such a parallelism to it that allows you to make a point, some really good points, very anti-white supremacist points. And it doesn't have to be broken down along political lines just to get clicks. It's not clickbait. It's telling a story that very much mirrors our reality without being our reality. You know, like some books, like Deadfall, like Zelensky shows up, you know, and other books we read, like Putin's in it. And I think Brad just handles so well in this one. This feels like the real DC insider hardball. It sounds like the real social fabric of America being torn asunder and all of that being manipulated, political opinions, even voting decisions being manipulated by Russian disinformation or propaganda. Then that's also being infiltrated at the highest levels with this mole, this agent sleeping with a senator who's very much driving the cabal. The politics one-upping each other. The senator wants to get in. They want to move the vice president up. They want to get rid of a populist president. I mean, just look at that. A populist president. You mentioned the Epstein's files. It was on her desk, and now it doesn't exist. Like, that just broke today. And literally in this book, in the speech, the podcaster is going off on, like, you were elected by Americans who believed you would do something. You didn't follow through on that promise. Now we're going to take you out of power. Holy crap, that just mirrors our reality so well.
I was going to bring that up too. I think it's interesting, like, that this book comes out at this time. You know, these authors are so good at
crazy
doing stranger than fiction, right? That's what Kyle writes. You're seeing it a little bit with, especially on the hard right wing right now, where they're upset with Pam Bondi and with Kash Patel and with Dan Bongino, and they haven't quite gotten to like where Trump's at fault yet. But you could easily see how especially if he's now pissing off Putin by maybe he might even keep giving Ukraine's missiles. Like you could see where like his base is like they were already pissed off about the Iraq like bombing. They didn't want to get him to get involved. They like it's funny how like all these things are coming.
Well,
like,
dude, NATO summit.
Exactly.
The whole thing is around a NATO summit, and if we should essentially build an Iron Dome for NATO, how in tune is that with this
Brad
past election
has to be
cycle?
Loving it. What's going on right now? Like to mimic the like almost like beat for beat what's going on. It's I mean, obviously it's not. I hope to God we don't have these neo-Nazi like some false flag attacks that are being planned. Like that would be that's obviously I'm not
terrible.
hoping that, but
I
could easily see where who knows what happens. You put out all this social media stuff, and then you gets pressure. Like he wants. I don't know who's to know what could happen.
Dude, or even another one, the Secret Service and protection details getting cut. This book
that was all. I feel like that I could definitely feel like the exploitation of like the downfalls of the election, right? Like the assassination attempt on Trump, like and that was pointed out because they didn't have enough Social Security or Secret Service. But
they're they're cutting down numbers and budget for budgetary purposes, and is that affecting their state of readiness? But then also you're maybe politically deciding who gets protection, who doesn't, and then you're revoking it from people from prior administrations who may legally deserve it or maybe for safety reasons and threat assessments may need it. around the corner for me was Kathleen Hicks, the I believe she was deputy or undersecretary of the Army. She had a high DOD position, and there were always 4 SUVs 24/7 on the block around the corner, running, engines running, staffed 24/7. 2 in the back of the house, 2 in the front of the house, and then literally I see in the news like protection details are being pulled. Haven't seen those SUVs since. And it's like I'm reading about that in this story with Rogers being chased through Rock Creek Park. He lost his protection detail. And it's just unbelievable to realize that's going around me, you know, like literally down my block. There are the impacts of this. And not to mention the Iran connection.
Sure, right.
He suspects it's fallout from the Soleimani attack. We recently just had it with the nuclear attack. You know, there was going to be retaliation for that. And another one, he's reaching back even further. Brendan Rodgers thought they're going after everyone in that picture on the Security Council, which made me think of the Osama bin Laden raid, the picture of the team.
Of the teams.
Sitting in the Situation Room, or one of the conference rooms off the Situation Room. And I'm just like imagining these terrorists sitting there with that exact picture, putting X's on people's faces, you know, and they think like this is all being sponsored by Iran. And holy crap. Stranger than fiction is what Kyle calls it, but I call it for Brad the straight outta, because he posts an article and it says like straight out of Edge of Honor, straight out of Black Ice. The Straight Outta series by Brad Thor. I don't even think I covered all of them because I wrote down like 7 different things from the Straight Outta. There was Sky Shield, which is the version of the Iron Dome for NATO. I was thinking Star Wars, you know, go right in the Cold War. We go back even further.
But isn't there something in the Big Beautiful Bill that has the money for that?
The Big Beautiful Bill is pushing that. The podcaster we talked about that cuts at the probationary employees.
Right. That was a big thing in January, February. Yeah.
Right. The CIA ground branch guys are all taking this odd job to work for this kook because they all got cut. All because and it happened to one of my friends. He works for Fish and Wildlife, and he has like 12 years of government service, an equivalent position, but he moved to a new department. And because he was new to that department, he automatically became one of the probationary guys who got cut. He got slashed. A lower court ruled an injunction against that. He got reinstated. Just today, the Supreme Court revoked that injunction and now said you can go back to firing them. And so it's just like people are ping pong balls. And in this book, we're seeing that exact thing happen. But those guys go work for the enemy and have no other option but to go join this, dark team doing this thing. So, Hale. Hale was the guy that they roll up at the River Estate, which Nicholas, dude, I want to get your reaction, but just a minute. They roll up Hale and they find out he smuggled these weapons from Mexico where there was this depot, and they said it blew up and everything was gone, but secretly he smuggled it to use for this operation. I'm thinking Fast and Furious.
Sure. Yeah.
Like Mexico, weapons getting lost, like falling into the wrong hands. I'm like, the straight out of ripped from the headlines that Brad is packing into this book, and every one of them is realistic. It's the buy-in score for me, 5+++. 5 out of 5 I'm buying on this.
Nice.
Nicholas, what'd you think of that? I lost my mind.
Yeah, well, first of all, like harkening back to like when we first saw him like riding Argos. He rides Argos, right? Or
I think Argos was shot and he rides Draco.
Yeah. So just like, doing that. And I was kind of disappointed last book when he said that, he couldn't go out in the field anymore. And then in the beginning of this novel, he's sticking to his guns. But in the end, Scott got him to do what he needed to do.
Exactly.
It's glad to see that, Nicholas will be there mostly. As long as Scott provides those babysitting hours, he'll compensate him.
I love that at the end. That was a great touch.
Yeah. And it's, it's changing dynamics, right? It was interesting to see that Gary Lawler is off on vacation, and he's supposed to be running he's kind of running the Carlton Group, not really running the Carlton
Group.
It's really
Nicholas.
Yeah, it's super intriguing, and why the hard shift with Brad or with Scott? Like
he's out.
He's just done.
I mean, he got the whole last book,
the whole CIA thing.
Yeah, Holiday Hayes wasn't in this one. That's an interesting choice. But yeah, she was forced to blackmail him. He also got the money. He cut the deal with the Russian oligarch's wife. So he's got the 50 mil. And Brad called that the supermodel problem. You know, why are you going to get out of the bed and go work for the man? You know, money has a whole different meaning. Work has a whole different meaning now. And he wants his life with Solvay. And so this was a real interesting move where Scott could have been out of the game, out of the CIA because he's pissed at them. Doesn't need to work for the Carlton Group anymore. He's kind of made, unless there's a threat that requires his skill set. I'm sure he'd come back in to save the day, but he could be out. He and Solvay could be made in the shade. And this one bought me into why each of them were where they needed to be. Yeah, exactly. Why they were brought back in, and why something in Shadow of Doubt and even Deadfall, and maybe even before that, we were saying was Scott and Solvay just haven't done enough together yet. Like, they kind of had reasons to go their own way, and Solvay just disappears into the background. She'll have one cool action scene.
Even the last book where she was
that
more prominent
action scene.
You know, they weren't really together. And
they weren't together, though.
They weren't really together in this book either, but I felt like it was way more connected.
It was intertwined. I agree. And Scott was so close with the Norwegian delegation, and they were kind of working together. And the opening scene, right, at the Norwegian residence and ambassador house. So I think the two of them operating together, but also having personal time together, was handled perfectly here.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Perfect.
I think it sets them up to be like this dynamic duo, you know, like obviously Brad's setting it up to, you know, have this Russian connection, and where are we going to go next with them? Obviously they're pulling the strings. Thought for sure we were going to get that, what was her name? The mole, but at the very end it was referenced that her throat was slashed. I thought
she was killed in Istanbul. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought for sure she was going to play a role in the next books, but you know, we'll have to see. Yeah.
She was a loose end.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of want to get into the scorecard and talk about like some of these more specific action sequences.
I agree. We have to talk action. I think I'm going to go 9 out of 10.
I was going 9.5.
I'm toying with 9.5. Yeah, you know what? I have to go 9.5. The only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is there were like 4 really good ones that stand out to me. I could have maybe used like 4.5 of these scenes, like just a tad more action, or maybe take an action scene that wraps up really quickly and draw it out just a little more. But the ones that stand out to me, the opening scene, of course, is a very good one. But my top 2 favorites, the hit on Roger's McLean house.
Yeah, that was
when
awesome.
Haney, McGee, and him hold down the fort. And then my absolute favorite was Solvay on the highway at the Dulles Toll Road, taking out the sniper. Those ones just are amazing to me.
Yeah, and they're both, you know, super unique. You got Scott in one situation. You know, you've seen him in that situation before, but he generally has more hands, like more. You know, he's having to MacGyver his way through this, and you know, having 2 badasses side by side, like it's just, you know, they're able to execute awesomely.
Nicholas's drone,
and then the other, those little drones were cool. You know, the other scene, I feel like we've seen that before, like a hit on a motorcade. Wasn't there one in the last book, or 2 books ago? I forget, but
yeah.
But this one to me was just way more intense, and I guess drawing in, like, not having Brad there in the beginning, you know,
Scott,
like,
yeah, exactly.
Scott there. Yeah, I keep on interchanging. Sorry. Not having Scott there and having it focused on Solvay and really getting to see her in action.
She does that in Shadow of Doubt. You remember she has the defector in that house? Like, she has her moment to shine, but this one felt so much more personal to Scott because he was almost playing that support role for her. It's like she was the one still going down range and exposing herself, and he was the one back home trying to play that supportive spousal role. And now he's the one worrying about her, and he has to rush to the scene. They fly in on the choppers, even though everything's wrapped up and done. He wasn't in the action, but he was totally impacted by the action. And I thought that was unique for your protagonist.
Yeah, and he's the one that talks to Gage, right? Who, you know, ultimately is not a bad guy, but you know, that's how some of the leaked information comes
Russ
through.
Gaines,
yeah, Russ
Secret Service guy,
not Gaines.
I was hoping he was good. I did not want him to be bad.
Yeah, there was like at one point it was tipping like there was too many like bad guys like in multiple situations, or in like, throughout all these organizations. Like, I don't know. That was the toughest thing for me to get over in a sense, because we've seen Scott with the CIA, I guess the CIA is probably the easiest to believe that you could have bad actors, because we've had that in other novels. But the Secret Service, we've only really had, I guess, Lions, right? Where, there was one like major player in the Secret Service. And we've had other times where FBI, you know, eh, what was it that
Joel Wilson and Mitch Rapp.
Yeah, he was a bad guy, but he wasn't. Oh yeah, that's a Mitch Rapp. But like, we've seen like that, instance where like it's the FBI who's being played and whatnot. But just to have the Secret Service like legit be bad, especially in that one, like it reminded me of the scene from Captain America,
the elevator
scene where like 4 Secret Service agents get on and they're jittery. They're all jittery, and then they try to take out, and Scott's able to take them out real quick.
Yeah,
that was a total Captain America.
That's exactly what I thought of.
Yeah, just the breadth of the bad actors among the heroes was crazy.
And that's going to take us into bad guys we'll get to in a bit. But I kind of like this idea. It was almost one too many people and names. But I like the idea that it was like the tentacles of the people pulling the strings. So like when the Russians created this whole plot, what they call it, Black Line, to basically underwrite Americans' confidence in the government, and they're co-opting this senator, Blackwell, is that his name? Mm-hmm. They kind of have to have their tentacles everywhere, right? You can't just have some bad guy at the FBI and think your job is done. They needed a Secret Service plant, a CIA plant. So I feel like it just shows the depth of penetration of the Russians' operation, like old school KGB style shit, for them to have been able to have turned this many people and have their fingers everywhere. And I think that elevated it. So yeah, one too many names, particularly when you add the white supremacist bad guys at the very end. Then we get like another 2 or 3 names who are connected as the bad guys. So yeah.
And then we also have Hale, who's like, he's the CIA ground branch guy who was obviously corrupt, like
running that team.
Yeah. So to me, like by themselves, they were all like fine, but then in my head, like it was a little bit too hard.
You then had Kennedy and Marshall as well. Kennedy was the guy Carolyn and Fields knew in the FBI who was the bad guy. They got a bad rub. And then Marshall was Russ Gaines's assistant secretary, if you will. And he was all giddy and he was bad. Maybe one too many in that regard. Maybe, but that's a small nitpick from that takes villains to like a 4.5. I think it's only half point ding for that.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, we can let's put 4.5 for bad guys.
Yeah, and I think with all the action though, I'm absolutely a 9.5. One other thing that took me down,
the naval observatory scene. You mentioned the opening scene, like that one was freaking awesome. Like it's
what
crazy.
A way to start the book.
Oh yeah, like come out guns blazing.
That's everything I wanted in an opening 2 chapters. Everything.
And then I guess some of the smaller action scenes are the infiltration onto the complex to capture Hale.
Yep. Well, Carolyn and Fields, the gym, when they go to the gym and the guy pulls a gun.
Scene, the guy pulls a gun and she's quick on the trigger.
Shot. Yeah.
And the convention center scene at the very end, it's going to be this sarin gas, and Scott's, intertwined with that is the whole Captain America scene. Yeah, I don't know. It was a lot. And
it's all paced out pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Those last few, though, the hit on the final, there's almost 2 complexes at the end, but the big one in Elkton, Virginia, to get I think Jordan or Jacob Jordan, I think was his name. That one,
I wanted it to last longer.
I wanted a little more out of that, and then we rushed to the convention center as well.
Right.
And that one, when we're doing the sarin gas, it's like all this packed into the very end without a whole lot of kind of build up or explanation. If we knew a little something about chemical weapons leading up to this, like there was residue or there were cylinders transferred or they found materials, in the white supremacist houses and they were prepping this stuff, I think there could have been a little bit more of a through line instead of boom, it's a chemical attack coming out of the blue.
Because the only way they're able to piece that together is that they see these needles, like, and then quickly pivot to like that's where I'm like getting.
It's a little thin. a little thin. But that's the half a point for me on act. Okay, maybe that's also half a point on plot then.
I think so too.
9.5.
And did you like the whole like bringing in white supremacists, like that aspect of it?
You know, I thought it was a good way to address the Russians can't just basically do everything, right? Have Russian operatives, have CIA ground branch guys co-opted to do their bidding. It's like you needed another force that was co-opted, and one that is kind of dumb, one that was just willing to do whatever you spoon feed them. So I think it also allowed Carolyn and Field's investigation to pay off, because I really liked what they were doing, and it could have felt like this side story. Like sometimes earlier in the series there was a police procedural, and I don't remember it coming back so well to like give Scott enough intel to do what he needed to. But I think Carolyn and Field chasing the white supremacist guys at the same time where Scott needs that final guy to interrogate, to hear about the final attack, or to put the pieces together about who's bad inside the government. I think having Scott's mission to go after and hunt down and Bob McGee, who's bad, combining with Carolyn and Fields to kind of root out these white supremacists, I thought that came together great.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
You can't have one without the other.
Right.
Then it gets very thin. So what does that mean for plot and buy-in for you then?
Yeah, I was going to ask, how bought in were you that you think that CIA ground branch guys that, were laid off would be willing to just turn on our country and start shooting innocent civilians?
Yeah.
The white supremacists, I can understand that, because I could see that, like they'll sort of paint them like, oh, these are Jews, these are black, whatever. The ground branch thing, that was the thing that I was hung up on.
What missions did they actually do? They did the Norway op, right, to hit the Norwegian delegation.
They did the Norwegian delegation, and they did Stevens' house.
Oh, Rogers. So they were picking off. See, that's why it fits. I think.
I guess you're right. They're not. They weren't the ones that were
shooting up the protesters.
Yes.
Yeah, if they were doing
weren't
that,
the ones like
correct.
Setting up the sarin gas. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I think that's why you need the white supremacists to do kind of that dirty work of just complete psychos. But you need the ground branch guys who I think they literally think they're draining the swamp. I think they're being told by Hale, who probably has a good reputation. If Hale can build this company and steal this arsenal from Mexico, he could probably tell them, like, look, guys, I have connections high up, almost as high as the VP, right? People surrounding the VP, to basically get America back on track. Like, we can go take out all the old guard who's ruining, this country, who's taking us down the wrong path. And that's what's scary, is you get disgruntled veterans or disgruntled paramilitary guys who have that training, and you give them a reason to do something, and you basically tell them this will save America. And they're disgruntled from losing their job. I think that's enough to really get them to do some dirty shit. And the Brendan Rodgers attack makes sense. They think they're wiping out the old guard who's compromising the current administration, a very populist administration. And these old heads, these old diplomats and these old security apparatus guys are ruining us from making America first and stuck in the old ways. And I literally think a guy like Hale could convince them, you're draining the swamp by doing this.
Yeah, no, I guess you're bringing me around on that. I agree with you.
And plus, as I was reading it, I was bought in. No, I'm going 5 out of 5.
What I guess the final thing that I want to ask if you're bought in on is this whole idea of, we put the vice president out there he's going to be the one to succeed. Like we needed him to be that guy, to fulfill the coup, right?
The podcaster sold me on it. Not Bidwell. Blackwell was working with Coughlin of, what is it, Bunker Radio?
Yeah.
And his manifestos, I think it made sense. I mean, it's literally what happens when MAGA turns on Trump. Like you created a beast that you can't keep in the can anymore. And I kind of see that as happening. And they pick their person, want to propel them to power. And you have people on the inside, like they got him in front of the cameras right after an attack. So he was the first face the nation saw, the VP responding to the attack. as opposed to the president. And I think you had political insiders, you had people to do the wet work. This was almost a really, really perfect operation to have a regime change.
Yeah. All right. So all that, I'm going to put 9.5 on plot.
Same. 5 out of 5 on buy-in, or is this enough to ding it for you? Think when you're ripping through this book at work and you just can't put it down.
Yeah, no, I'm a 5.
That's a 5. I read, like I said in the interview with Brad, the hardback in 16 hours. Started it one night on vacation, got home, read it the next morning, finished that afternoon. Then I read the audiobook today, 3.5 speed. Because I already knew the story, and it's Armand Schultz. Yeah. I know Armand Schultz's voice so well, 3.5 speed, I could still keep up with everything. And I think I finished that one. I started probably feeding 10 or like 8 a.m. and finished 8 p.m. So I finished that in 12 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop.
I would love to re-listen to this book again. It's that good, you know. I recommended it to Caroline. I was like, you should read this. This is good.
It's also a pretty good standalone. Like, it's made that much better if you know Bob McGee, if you know Brendan Rodgers, you know Nicholas, but
you could easily have started the story where, all right, this is a guy, he just got out of the, this long-term commitment. Now he's here. Like, this is a one of those perfect standalones.
Yeah, it is. You'd probably be confused when Nicholas is riding the dogs.
Sure.
But
Yeah. All right, what about Good Guys, man?
Got a lot of them.
It's got to be a 5, dude. I think McGee and Haney alone
makes it a 5.
Make it a 5.
I agree. Carolyn and Fields too.
Throw in Carolyn and Fields. Throw in Solvy's badassery.
Yeah.
Even Benet, her friend.
Yep.
Throwing in, his contact at the CIA.
The Admiral.
The Admiral.
The Admiral is great.
The drunk Admiral. Yeah.
That dude. And then he has all the women on the boat for the 4th.
Yes.
I could just see him as that old man who's always at the bar, always the life of the party, just having a good time.
Mm. It might be running 5s the rest of the way, because I love the setting. I thought that taking us to DC, he perfectly describes like this whole, what is it, Woodley Park
That's perfect.
area where the Russian handler meeting.
Yep. In the apartment.
Naval Observatory, Dulles Toll Road. We're going to like, and maybe this is a completely biased 5 for me growing up in that area, and everyone else reading this book could think less of it. But
yeah,
take it from me as a DC native, Northern Virginia native.
It's perfect.
He nails it.
It's perfect.
Frickin' nails it.
Dude, I talked about that a lot with Brad in the interview. We just geeked out over all these DC locations, not to mention the restaurants. They go to Hank's Oyster Bar on the wharf, Pisco y Nazca. My wife worked around the corner from there. That was like their happy hour spot. The convention center. They even stop at Children's Hospital right around the corner from where we went to college, Catholic University. Oh, a dive shop in Occoquan. Occoquan's a perfect little town to have this Patriot Dives, which he called it like Patriot Dive Shop, where Scott gets his scuba gear tuned up. There's a real one. It's called like USA Dives or something.
Oh, that's cool.
Like all this stuff is real. Off the record, the bar at the Hay Adams Hotel right across from Blair House, the FBI headquarters, of course, comes up. Everything is just so perfect. I'm a sucker for the DC stuff, so you can't get it more perfect than what Brad did. River's Edge, I even posted, if you haven't seen it on our socials, I posted a picture of the River's Edge farm, which was, well, actually, the River Farm is the Horticultural Society, American Horticultural Society's headquarters, right on the Potomac River with this mansion and these gardens. And that's where Nicholas gears up to ride the dogs.
Right.
And they cross the estate into nearby River's Edge, which was a house Brad said he actually saw on Zillow. He said that and Rogers McLean House were real Zillow postings while he was writing in those areas. And he used them to craft these houses. They were so cool. Accurate. Just so accurate. And the highway, I was going out to golf. I was on the Dulles Toll Road, and literally Scott described it perfectly. The motorcade was stuck because the metro tracks to your left, the barbed wire and the metro track rails. You can't cross that way. The shooting is coming from the woods. There's woods, all near
Wolf Trap?
Wolf Trap, right.
Yeah.
There's like woods right there, Wolf Trap on the other side of the highway. And I'm just imagining the sniper hanging out there. And then Solvey has to get cover fire with the burning vehicles from the RPG, cut across the highway. Oh, and then the helicopters even touch down, right? That's how they bring Scott out there from the White House. Helicopters take off from the White House, land on the highway, the burning RPGs. Oh, it's unbelievable picturing all this happening right where you grew up and where I'm pretty much driving every week. So it's insane.
Yeah. Brings me back for sure.
Settings of 5 out of 5 plus.
All right. The cover.
What can you say? It's America. It's America, baby.
I think it's perfect.
Do you see this fold on top of the O? Do you see that? The fold in the flag?
I think it's perfect.
It's
like,
perfect.
Honestly, it's one of the best covers I think I've ever seen, especially if we want to judge the book by the cover, judge the cover by the book. It perfectly embodies everything is going for the setting, the scene, this tour, rip in America, is the flag falling? Is it just waving? What is going on? Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I love the coloring, the shading. If you have the physical cover too, like the ridges of Brad and Edge of Honor, it's just perfect. It's perfect.
Take this book out into the sun and the daylight, and it shines. Just absolutely shines. It's a 5 out of 5, and we rarely give 5.
This is up there.
I want to see the paperback. I want to see the mass market paperback if they still do it. I want to see the international version. Honestly, this should be the international version. Don't change a damn thing. Don't put a silhouette of an operator fully kitted out. Don't. The Germans. Yeah, the Germans are going to do that. Of course,
we're grading this before we see other covers that would potentially bring that score down. So
the British one's going to have a train.
Yeah.
The Australian one's going to have a cricket match.
We should tell ChatGPT to take the Edge of Honor cover and figure out how to add power lines or a train.
Dude, I seriously want to put a description of Scott raising the flag at Bishopsgate with the dock behind him into ChatGPT and say, make this a mass market paperback cover. And just,
that's cool.
I want to see that. It's just a thing of beauty. What's the other picture Solvey snaps? Oh, of him eating the fish. Yeah. You can put that on the back cover. You put Brad eating the fish. Hey, ChatGPT, make a picture of Brad Thor eating lutefisk.
That's awesome. What's your free space, man?
The hit on the Rogers house. I already said the other one is my favorite action scene, so I feel like I covered that. But equally, and just right up there, is the way Haney, McGee are all bunkering down, getting ready, and then they take every advantage that they have. Even at one point, Scott radios in for them to use the automatic window blinds and the shades, so the team going up the ladder gets thrown off. Buy him a little time so he can scoot around and get a better shot on them. Using the little drones from Nicholas, the mosquito drones. They even are able to take out the attackers' drones themselves. I just think the hit on that house. So the opening action scene hooked me. That scene made me think, let's freaking go. This is one of the best books I've ever read. And by the time the Solvey thing happened on the highway, icing on the cake. So just the pacing between those three scenes and all the storyline in between them to meet all the characters and see who's who, the pacing was phenomenal. So I'm giving it to both the pacing and those action scenes.
It's a good one. It's a good one. Mine's kind of related, and it's tied into Good Guys. But I think I guess I'm going to give it to Brad. Like, I don't know if we've ever done that before because
just only about every other book.
Yeah. But like, just to be able to come up with this, all right, where do you go from now?
Sure.
Like, and to truly think hard about Scott's out of the game, execute. All right, how do you pull him back in? Because you have to have him come back in. Put him in the situation where he can't have his regular team, but you're going to bring back some of the best cast of characters. Name drops, whatever. And to execute this perfectly, and I agree with you. It's like it's not my favorite book. It's definitely not the best book, but it's just like, it's a game. For me, it's a game changing book.
I
Like,
agree.
it's just like for the series. I don't know. So I'm committed to Brad. Fuck it.
Yeah. Game changer is a perfect way to say it, especially with the recent run of books. They were all good, some very good, but we needed a phenomenal one, and we got it. And
I think this lives up there
it.
with, you said it, Backlash, Lions, Takedown, Apostle. Like, this is up there with like top 5 for me.
It's up there.
Up there.
Now, do I press and say, if it's top 5, where does it land? What spot does it land? If I had to press you on it, is that too much to ask? So I think I made
Prisoner of the Moment. It's 3, 4.
I was about to say it might be Prisoner of the Moment, but it's in my 3 spot. I think it
might be
the
3.
Apostle. For you, it would be, does it take Takedown? Because you love Takedown.
Yeah.
I think it beats the Apostle, though. It's close, but I think it edges it. It edges it out.
It's a different style, though. It's not as deep.
Sure.
It is deep, but it's deep in different ways, Like, there we're like interacting with the Afghan people. Here we're like, America's in a crisis,
Sure, it's very different, but
yeah, I think it's 3.
I think it's a 3 spot.
I think it's a 3 spot.
I'm with you.
We reserve all rights to change our ratings at any given time, so
sure,
don't hold us to that.
That's where I'm putting it, though, and I think I'm pretty confidently putting it there, and not just being a Prisoner of the Moment. So,
wow. So this one is for both of us, a 48.5.
48.5 out of 50. For folks who haven't heard a lot of Thriller Pod, we've reviewed over 100 books. We've given the scorecard for all of them. That's one of the highest ever.
Yeah.
Of all time.
Definitely.
Wow.
That's a good book. It's a great book. Go out. If you're listening this far and you haven't gone out and bought a copy, I don't know why you've listened this far, but everyone needs to read this book.
Absolutely. And like we said, it could be a standalone. I'd recommend it to anybody. I might even say it's an okay place to start the series. I think I stand by, you really should start with Lines of Lucerne, of course, followed up by State of the Union. You could start with Backlash, and if you want a little pre-story, Spy Master and Backlash, I think I would put this one next as a good place to begin if you just want to get a sense of who Scot Harvath is, because then you can go back and say, how did he get to this point? How did he get,
right
where he's almost
it
out?
It intrigues you enough to be like, yep. Oh yeah, oh shit, yep. His wife died? Like, yep. Yeah.
What was it like when he was fully in the Carlton Group, when he was fully in the Secret Service?
The one guy geeks out and he's like, you saved the president and the president's daughter. Like, oh shit, this guy's done stuff before. So
yeah, he was putting on a show though, because he was part of the cabal.
Oh yeah,
but but yeah, that kind of gravitas that the legend and the aura of Scot Harvath holds, I think would get somebody interested in saying, I want more. I want to know more about him. And if you like Solvi a lot, this could kick you off to not even go back to the very beginning, but go back and read her arc, Near Dark, Black Ice, and go back to some of those more recent books. Or who is Bob McGee? Let's go back and find the Bob McGee, Lydia Ryan books. It's like, it sparks so much interest. Yeah. Now, thinking ahead, this book did do something that's got me questioning, what's Nicholas's role in all this? Because I feel like the demands of fatherhood and the demands of running the Carlton Group
too much
is a lot. And of course, obviously the baby is, just an infant. But what will it mean for Nicholas to split his time between family and leading the Carlton Group? I don't know how that's going to work out. Really curious about that.
I could see this being Nicholas's swan song.
Yeah.
You can't kill him.
No, he'll just be there for Scott and Solvi to kind of lean on occasionally, or basically go see the baby every once in a while.
But I could see him getting out of the Carlton Group and just being a father, and then maybe a couple books down the road we have to tap into his expertise digitally,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I think could you have Gary Lawler and Bob McGee kind of co-run the show? Because
Yeah,
Gary's
they were kind of planting that seed, right? Like, oh,
exactly.
McGee would be a good guy to lead the. I wonder if
Yep.
he'll come out of retirement. Yeah.
Yep. And they even had, actually, one of the passages I wanted to read is McGee reflecting on this. And he talks about painting, right? He finds his solace. He's painting. They go to his house on Kent Island. He loves the boat, right? He takes the boat hours up the Chesapeake to get to the July 4th party. I could kind of see him getting to a point where he's found that peace and he has enjoyed it and he's ready to get back in the game or ready, to saddle up again. So I think that's a possibility. But time really is a theme with Scott getting older. What's next for him?
Sure.
Nicholas having a family now, ready to move on. McGee and Gary Lawler are out there. Fields is so young. One, an incredible shooter, incredible cop. There's a future for her, whatever role she plays. But man, I could see her being groomed to be a Carlton Group higher up one day. I just think there's a lot in this book that deals with the past. There's a lot of this book which looks forward into the future, but we just don't know where it's heading. And Bob McGee sums it up perfectly with a quote just about the importance of time. Scott says to him, "I don't know. I'm pretty sure I could have squeezed a couple of more years out of it had I wanted to." "Life is all about the timing," McGee remarked, his voice tinged with quiet wisdom. "Especially in this line of work. Knowing when to step away. That's what separates the wise from the reckless." "The quick and the dead," Harvath mused. "And yet here we are. No paycheck, no backup to speak of. Just us and the AMBO. So what does that make us? Men willing to fight for what's right, even when the system won't. That makes us men of honor, last of the American breed."
That was a good quote.
It's a great passage.
That's a great one.
Wisdom bomb from Bob McGee right there.
Yeah, it leaves a lot. Like I said, it sets this book not only resets but also sets us up to be intrigued for what's to come.
Yeah. How amazing is it to have a book that, in terms of action and plotting, is just a perfect, easy beach read? Then you have passages like that with a real old-timer character speaking to your protagonist.
Yeah, no, it's executed perfectly.
It's everything you want. It's everything you want in the arc of the series, and it's everything you want in just a kick-ass book of the summer.
Kick-ass book, yep.
Dude. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up with a little limerick, and then we'll get on out of here. So,
sounds good. Give it to me.
Operating at the edge of honor, as Scott and Sulvey hunt the bomber, President's downfall, and a shadowy cabal. The conspirators now are all goners.
Nice. There you go. I was wondering how you're going to rhyme with honor. You got bomber, goner. There you go, baby. All right, so what are we doing next?
Good question. We got to sit down. We got to take a look at the schedule. We've been busy. We've had a lot of different things on our mind. One, we want to come back to S.A. Cosby's King of Ashes, new release a couple months ago. We've talked about getting into a couple of different things like Nuclear War, Annie Jacobson, a little nonfiction kind of feel. But then we've also just wanted to explore a little Steve Berry. We loved our first Steve Berry. I want to come back to that. So there's a lot we can do. I think we need to sit down and decide. But before you know it, we're going to get arcs of denied access. Mitch Rapp's going to hit us quick. End of next month, the Dark Wolf TV show comes out. So we're going to go back to some Terminal List coverage. I just think we have a packed next couple of months. So we might do some little fun side adventures. And then we're definitely going to come back to Mitch Rapp in September. And before that, in August, Dark Wolf TV show is going to keep us busy. So that's what's coming down the pike.
Definitely. And I already pre-ordered our Sons of Valor book through Audible to use one of those credits. So we have Sons of Valor 4 released on July 22nd.
Yes.
We have Supreme Justice, Eric Bishop's book.
Right. Let's bring him back on. And we said we want to do Dan Brown, getting ready for the next Dan Brown book. So
Secret of Secrets. Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Lot going on. All right. Well, if you want to stay up to the latest on the content, be a part of our great chat we have on Group Chat, Group Me. Go ahead, go to our website, thrillerpod.com. log in through Patreon, join our group. We have a great group of people. You know, I'm about to thank a large group of them in a second, but I can't say that enough. Go check us out on YouTube. Check us out, thrillerpod.com. Like I said, we have 3 seasons. This one, our main feed going forward, you know, we're up to episode 98. We're just rolling, my dude.
Yeah, let's keep it going.
Mike's pumping out these little vignettes, you know, using the video feeds on the socials, Instagram, Twitter. So at Thriller Podcast on both those. Check it all out. All right. Well, like I said, I'm going to thank our patrons, our Deputy Director, Sherry F. and Brad E., our special agents, Ben, Daryl, Kevin, George, Matt, Don, Peggy, Chris, and Mark. And as always, just let McGee be McGee.
Absolutely.
I think I did Salvi last time. So.
Love the McGee shout.